Yo, what's going on, football fans? Buckle up because today we're diving into what could be one of the biggest and most unexpected NFL storylines of the decade, something that has shaken the league and sparked conversations in every locker room, every media room, and every group chat filled with Cowboys fans and defensive purists alike. I'm talking about the potential formation of a defensive monster, a straight-up nightmare for opposing offenses, a historic move that would see Aaron Donald, the generational defensive tackle and future Hall of Famer, don the silver and blue of the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. You heard it. Aaron Donald, retired but clearly still itching to put the pads back on, might just be plotting a return to the NFL, but not with the Rams. No. With the Dallas Cowboys, creating what fans are already calling Cowboy Wall 2.0. Imagine that. Take a second. You've got Micah Parsons, one of the most explosive, disruptive young defenders in the NFL, already wreaking havoc off the edge. Add to that Aaron Donald, the three-time Defensive Player of the Year, an absolute force on the interior who has terrorized quarterbacks and offensive lines alike for a decade. You throw those two on the same front seven? You've just created the football equivalent of a nuclear warhead aimed straight at the heart of opposing offenses. And listen, I know, some of you are thinking this sounds like a fantasy. I get it. Aaron Donald announced his retirement in March of 2024 after 10 dominant seasons with the Rams. He had nothing left to prove. Super Bowl champion, 8-time All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, a defensive resume that stacks up against the greatest to ever play the game. But here's the twist: the door, it turns out, was never fully closed. There's been speculation for months that Donald might be tempted back under the right circumstances. And now, with Micah Parsons making waves about being unhappy in Dallas due to stalled contract talks, a viral fan edit showing him in a Rams jersey popped up online. That alone would have been enough to stir the pot. But then Donald himself responded. He dropped a line that sent shockwaves across NFL Twitter and into every sports newsroom: if Micah Parsons goes to the Rams, I might have to get back in football shape. That's not just a joke. That's not just retired player banter. That's Aaron freaking Donald putting his cards on the table. That's him saying, I'm not done, at least not entirely. And if the stars align just right, I'll strap on that helmet again. Now, here's where it gets even more delicious for Cowboys fans. What if instead of Micah leaving Dallas, what if the conversation flips? What if Donald makes the move to join Parsons and Big D? That's where the whispers start turning into roars. Sources around the league, former players, even a few insiders on X and Reddit threads are starting to theorize: could Dallas, desperate to build a championship-caliber defense, make a play to lure Donald out of retirement? We know Jerry Jones loves a splash. He lives for legacy building, for attention-grabbing moves that put the Cowboys back on top. And while the cap gymnastics would be tricky, we've seen the impossible happen before when there's enough motivation. Think about what that defense would look like. Donald anchoring the middle, demanding double and triple teams every snap. Parsons flying around the edge like a missile. Offenses wouldn't be able to shift their protections. You try sliding your line to block Donald, and Parsons is gonna torch your tackle. You shift to block Parsons, and Donald's blowing up the A-gap. It's a lose-lose. Quarterbacks would be under siege. Running backs? Forget it. Game plans? Torn apart before kickoff. And the impact wouldn't just be on paper. It would change the very culture of the Dallas defense. Donald brings leadership. He brings discipline. He brings the kind of swagger that comes only from being the best at what you do. And Parsons, already a rising star, would benefit more than anyone. These two don't just admire each other, they feed off each other's energy. Micah has openly said he models his game after Donald's. He's watched his tape for years. To learn from him, to line up beside him, that would be like a master class every single snap. Donald, on the flip side, sees in Micah what every fan and scout sees: a relentless motor, elite athleticism, and a hunger that mirrors his own. Their chemistry could be explosive. And don't forget about the rest of that Dallas defense. Guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs, and Darren Bland throw them into the mix, and you've got a fully loaded unit. A top 5 defense? Easily. Number 1 overall? Very possible. A Super Bowl winning defense? If everything clicks, absolutely. But let's also talk about the narrative impact. Aaron Donald joining Dallas would be a seismic cultural moment. It would signal something larger than a free agency signing. It would be a declaration. A declaration that Dallas is all in. For years, Cowboys fans have been stuck in this strange middle ground, not bad enough to rebuild, not quite good enough to get over the hump. They've flirted with greatness, but never quite made it back to the promised land. This move would be different. It wouldn't be a gamble on potential, it would be a calculated shot with proven firepower. This is the kind of move that brings rings, that defines eras, that turns playoff disappointment into championship dominance. And for Donald, it's legacy defining. It gives him a chance to do what few greats have done: retire at the top of your game, and then come back, not out of desperation, but to build something special, something historic, with a franchise that's hungry for glory. And let's not pretend fans wouldn't go absolutely ballistic. Jerseys would sell out in minutes. AT&T Stadium would erupt every time Donald hit the field. The media would follow every snap, every practice, every soundbite. ESPN, NFL Network, YouTube, this storyline would dominate for months. Training camp would become a spectacle. Ticket prices would spike. Opposing coaches would lose sleep. And fantasy football owners? Yeah, you're drafting Dallas defense in the 6th round minimum. The hype would be justified, because this wouldn't be some PR stunt. This would be real. Real potential. Real dominance. Real consequences for every offense lined up across from them. Now, I know some people are skeptical. He's retired, they say. This is just social media banter. But those people forget who Aaron Donald is. This isn't some washed-up vet looking for one last payday. This is a guy who retired because he didn't want to chase mediocrity. He only wants to play for something meaningful. 4 rings. 4 greatness. And if the Cowboys can present that vision, if Micah Parsons, Mike McCarthy, and Dan Quinn can get him on board with the mission, then yeah, I absolutely believe Donald laces up those cleats again. Especially when you consider that Dallas is so close. They've been knocking at the door. Now it's about busting that door down. You don't do that with just speed or schemes, you do it with stars. With legends. With a guy like Aaron Donald. And if you're the Cowboys front office, this is your moment. This is your window. Dak Prescott is still in his prime. CeeDee Lamb is on fire. The offensive line is still solid. But defense wins championships, and pairing Donald with Parsons might just be the missing piece. It changes everything. It changes how teams attack. It changes how you game plan. It makes every offensive coordinator question their strategy, every quarterback second-guess their reads. The ripple effect is massive. And we haven't even touched on the mentorship aspect. Imagine what that D-line room looks like with Donald leading film sessions. The younger guys grow faster. The veterans get sharper. The whole unit levels up. That's what great players do. They elevate everyone around them. So yeah, it's still speculative. Yeah, there are hurdles. Cap space, contract details, Donald's own decision-making, none of that is set in stone. But make no mistake, the conversation is happening. The seed has been planted. The fans are dreaming. The players are talking. The media is buzzing. And the NFL, whether it wants to admit it or not, is holding its breath. Because if Aaron Donald suits up for the Cowboys, if he decides he's not done yet, and he wants one more shot at immortality, then we're about to witness something unforgettable. Cowboy Wall 2.0 isn't just a nickname. It's the potential birth of a dynasty defense. So stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled, and get ready, because the NFL might just be heading into a new era. One built on fear. One built on fire. One built on legends. And if Donald does make that move, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember